click login, and then I will arrive to the home page. Here on the home page we have some summary information about the results. We can, in the activity box, we can see who has been saving decisions and when. Then here you can see the schedule that has been decided by your instructor, and then other potential tasks and messages are appearing here. Decisions and results are the area where most of the time is going to be spent, and we will come back to those shortly. On the schedule page you see the deadlines for the different rounds. Then keep in mind that you must complete the decisions before the deadline for the round, because at this time the system collects the decisions from the different teams and calculates the results. Teams page shows you the teams and the team members, and then for your own team you can click this edit link, and then you are able to change the team name and add a slogan if you wish. On the readings page you find the decision making instructions and the case description. Then under forums you have two different forums, one for the team, so any messages on this forum will be visible for your team members and your instructor, and then anything that you post on the course forum is going to be visible to all the course participants. Then we move on and start with the decisions. So here the first page that you find is the market outlook, and this is something that you want to read every round when you start making decisions. Actual decision making starts here when we move on to the consumers page, and there we find the deposits first. So we can do funding for our bank by using the deposits, and we have two different types. We have demand deposits, and then we have the fixed term deposits, which are also called time deposits sometimes. And all the white cells are decisions and blue cells are estimations. So now keep in mind that you are not playing against the computer, but you are making decisions that influence the other teams, and whatever the other teams are doing will influence you. So these white cell inputs, like for example here, we are giving the interest offer in basis points for our retail customers. So if it says 15 basis points here, it means that I'm gonna pay 15 basis points for my retail customers who are depositing their savings in my bank. And here I then make an estimation about how much my balance is going to grow for this particular deposit. So last round I had a little bit less than 13 million in deposits. Now if I'm estimating that I'm gonna get more deposits this round, then I just say that okay, for example 10% my balance sheet is gonna grow for this round, and the amount of deposits that I then estimate to have here is then money that I have available when I start giving loans and credits to my customers. And everything in the simulation is linked, so whatever numbers you put here will then appear in my bank's balance sheets, and that's gonna be the amount of money that I have available then for lending. Okay, so that's how you do with the demand deposits, and exactly the same principle applies for the fixed term deposits, but since these are fixed, so our customer is committing to keep the money in our bank for a certain period. We have two different periods. We have 12-month fixed term deposits and 24-month fixed term deposits. So here we can potentially agree to pay higher interest for our customers. The default values you see here, but this you can always change if you want. You can see the previous round inputs here. You can see what was your own offer last round and what was the market average for last round. And now that we are starting, in the beginning, every team has exactly the same decision. So whether you have 4 teams or 10 teams in your course, everybody has exactly the same balance sheet, same amount of customers. Then we move on to the credit products. On the credit product side, we then try to sell the money that we have been getting from our customers. And here we have mortgage loans with 12-month reference rate, and then we have mortgage loans with 5-year reference rate, then we have consumer loans and credit cards. And for all of these we will give a margin. What we call a margin is the fee that we are charging on top of the reference rate. So here we can see the reference rates for 12 months and 5 years. For 12 months it's 50 basis points and for 5 years it's 90. And then the mortgage loan 75 basis points, for example, means that then I'm charging the client 75 basis points on top of the reference rate. And for 5 years then same principle, but then the customer will pay 95 plus 90. Consumer loans and the credit cards are always with a 12-month reference rate. In these blue cells I make an estimation again about the growth of the sales. So now that I'm selling my money to the customers, we call it sales. So we estimate how much the balance will be growing for these different products that I'm selling. Again, I could just put a number, let's say 10%. And then these figures will be reflected in my balance sheet. Here on the right hand side I decide the lending terms. The first one is expense to income. So this means that what is the percentage of the monthly or annual income that is spent on servicing the loan. And the higher the expense to income, then it means that the more loose or more aggressive we are in trying to acquire the client. And vice versa, the smaller is this number, then it means that the more conservative we are in getting the customer. Separately, the decision is made for mortgage loans and consumer loans. Then I decide the loan to value, and loan to value then means that how much loan I can take against that particular asset, which in this case is a mortgage loan. So if my house is worth 100,000, then 65% of that I'm being given as a loan. And then I decide the maximum maturity. And then for credit cards I also decide the salary multiple. Here I make an estimation about the credit impairments. So provision for loan loss, I can see the number from here, what it has been in the round before, and then for this round I make the estimation. And then the net charge-off is my estimation about how much of these loan loss provisions are going to be written off eventually. The system calculates these numbers anyway, so the estimations that you see here are only used for your own pro forma statements. Here in the projections we can see the pro forma statements. So for income statement, balance sheet, then we have the different customer segments, we have the loan book, and we have the different parameters. So on the right hand side we can see the previous round numbers. We have been making a little loss in our previous round. And in the beginning this round is exactly the same for all the teams and all the banks. And for this round then we can continuously see what we can expect for our bank based on the existing decisions and estimations that we make throughout these pages. So for example, now we have this minus 4.5 million. If I would go back and change my consumer like fixed term deposits, for example, I'm not going to pay them 100 basis points, but I'm only going to pay 30 basis points, then I can see how this would influence my profit. So my loss decreased by about 500,000. So this is the idea with the projections. Every time that you do something here, you can check what is the impact on the bank's P&L and other reports. Next we move on to the business customers, and here again we make deposit offers, so we can decide how much we pay to the business customers for the money that they keep in the bank. and decision here, and estimated growth here. Then we have the loan terms that we decide for our business customers. We only have the investment grade customers here from AAA to BBB, and then we set the margin in basis points in a similar fashion as we did in the consumer section. So this is the money that we charge on top of the reference rate, and all the loans for the business customers are assumed to be based on the 5-year reference. Growth rate estimated here, and then the loan loss provisions estimated here for all the different segments. Then we move on to the lending terms, where we decide between 5 different options. We have no terms, which obviously is very aggressive expansion, and then covenant heavy on the other end, which is very conservative. Competitive positioning are marketing decisions. So here we can decide, first of all, whether we are targeting mainly customers who operate in the domestic market. If we decide to focus on the domestic business, on the business customers who operate in the domestic market, we should choose this. Then in the other end, we can choose the customers who mainly focus on the export markets, or then anything in between. Then we can also decide the breadth of the product or service offering, plain vanilla lending and borrowing, and then on the other end, broad and innovative solutions. And these different product offerings then have also different fixed costs, but they potentially also have different impact on the demand for our services. Personnel, now we're starting to move towards the back office. So on the personnel page, we decide the staffing. So we can decide how many people we have in our retail customer department, how many people we have in the SME, like small, medium-sized enterprise customer department, and then how many people we have in the back office. And here we can always see the amount of people in the previous round. Obviously, the more people we have, the more we also have in personnel costs. Here we make an estimation about the personnel turnover, and if we have a high turnover, then it means that we also need to spend time and money on hiring additional people if we want to maintain the same level of activity. Employee compensation and performance pay decisions are done here, so I can decide what type of salary packages I offer, 5 different options. And then I can also decide to include performance-based component in the compensation. Then I decide what kind of training priorities I have, and I also decide how much time I have per new employee and how much time per old employee. Systems page includes decisions about how much we are developing our internet banking services, and how much we are developing our customer service processes and customer experience. And these factors then will have influence in our customer satisfaction, and they will also influence to some extent our operational costs. Systems development decision, where we decide what kind of standing we take towards the new technology development. Tech bellwether is in the other end, and then laggard in the other end. Risk department has a decision about the overall risk management budget, and then we decide how many people we allocate for chasing the potentially non-performing loans. Credit risk is this section here, and the system is automatically calculating the risk-weighted assets here depending on our balance sheet, and then we are calculating the capital adequacy ratios, which have certain minimum levels. If these numbers start going below the minimum required, then the system will automatically restore the ratios by issuing equity. Finally, we have the Treasury page, and on the Treasury page we manage our bank's balance sheet. And the principal idea with the balance sheet is that if we have excess liquidity, then those will be deposited in the central bank, and then the central bank will pay us certain interest for those deposits. We can also decide to put the excess liquidity into the interbank market. Here you can always see how much interest you get for those investments of the extra liquidity. And then on the other hand, if we don't have enough liquidity, so we have committed to sell more credits to the customers than what we have available on our balance sheet, then the system will automatically take money from the central bank credit facility. Like in this example, now we are taking some money from the central bank credit facility to keep the liquidity of the bank. And this is quite expensive form of funding, so we can see that we are paying 200 basis points for all this money that we take from the central bank facility. And if it should happen that we go so low with the liquidity that we need to rely on the emergency liquidity assistance, then we pay 700 basis points for all those credits that we need to take from the central bank. So this is something that you need to pay attention to. When you have done all the decisions, then check out your balance sheet and make sure that you are not using the most expensive form of funding here. We can also decide to pay dividends to our shareholders. If we have the profits and if we have the liquidity, we can pay dividends. But first make sure that you have the liquidity available. Decision checklist is the last page in the process, and here we can see all the team members' decisions side by side. So here we have 5 members in this team, and now I have been operating under Tammy's account, and now in the optimal situation, each team member is making their own decisions, trying out different scenarios, and then we get together and we decide whose decisions we want to submit as a team. So let's assume that we want to take Tammy's decisions. In this case, we say copy as team's decisions. I move everything from this column to the team column. I say yes. And so here they are. All the numbers from Tammy's column have been included here in the team column, and whatever I have in this team column at the time of the deadline will be recorded as the decisions for my team. And then system compares all the different teams' decisions and then calculates the results, which can be then seen in the results section. Now you can also, by using this Go button, you can also step into decision-making areas of the other team members. So me as Tammy, I could step into Justin's area and see what he's been doing and so forth. But more often, the Go button is used for the team decisions. So now that we copied Tammy's decisions here, then we could still say that, yes, those were quite good, but then we want to make a few changes. So I click Go here. And then I can make any changes in any of these pages, and then those will be recorded directly in the team column. So at the time of the deadline, we may have 6 different sets of decisions in a team of 5, which means that each individual has made their own, and then 1 set of decisions we have modified for the entire team. The results section then includes results for the teams, and those we are showing side by side for all the different teams. There are multiple different reports available here, and the summary page now has some graphics. Then we have more details in the different departments. We have the consumers, we have the business customers, we have the personnel page, stakeholders, risk page, and the financials. But the idea in all these pages is that you can analyze your own performance and then benchmark against the competitors. And these results become available immediately when the round has closed. You can also download them as an Excel file. Then if you absolutely have to, you can also print them, and then there are some slides available from here as well. And for these charts, if you want to include them in your reports or other presentations, you can find this little square here, and then you can export the chart for whatever purpose you need it. Here in the beginning, obviously, when everybody has the same results, all the numbers are the same, but as soon as the simulation starts progressing, then you will see different results for the different teams. And keep in mind that the practice round results do not have any kind of influence into the actual game results. So whatever results you get for the practice round, those will not have any kind of impact in the results going forward. This concludes our walkthrough. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great learning experience.